Weird News Weekly with Ben and Reid.
It is that time once again. We are back for the second episode of Weird News Weekly. My name is Ben Rogers, and this guy's name is Reid Marnie. How's it going, Reid?
Ben, I'm just so glad the election is all done.
Yes.
Is it done?
Well, we don't really have a result yet, do we?
I don't think we do, and I'm so glad it's all done, but it looks like we're still going to have to vote, apparently.
For anyone who's not aware of what we're talking about right now, if you're from another country or anything like that, we had our election weekend here just yesterday, and we had to vote for a new Prime Minister, and it seems at this stage that there's going to be a hung parliament, and we might have to go back and vote again, possibly, but yeah, hopefully that doesn't actually happen, and we don't have to go back into the polls again, because I waited 15, 20 minutes yesterday just to get in there and fill out a piece of paper. So
that was, you unlucky person.
That did not have that. Super fun.
I was not like that at all. I went in there at about 5:50 with 10 minutes to go.
I
walked in there. There was no line of people. They were just waiting for people to come in. I was desperate to come in. I walked in there. I voted. I left. 2 minutes I was in there.
Man, you did it good.
I know. I may have missed out on the election sizzle sausage. Sausage sizzle, rather. But no, I was just in and out of 2 minutes, gone. So people, take my advice. If you just don't want to wait in a line, go at the end of the day.
As for the weird news we have lined up for you on today's show, we have stories about Willy Wonka. They're celebrating 45 years of the movie, Reid.
Oh, wow, that long?
Yeah, 45 years this year. So there's some weird and wacky facts that have gone along with Willy Wonka that we may not have known previously, but we will know now after I tell you guys pretty soon. As well as that, a Boston beer company is trying to cash in on the whole Brexit name. You know how the whole Brexit thing just happened over in the UK, Reid?
Oh, that was massive. And
they've left the EU. It's this big, massive thing that's going on over there, and companies are trying to cash in on the Brexit term to make money off it with their products. Surprise, surprise, it's happening over in the US.
Oh, of course it is.
As well as that, there's a major capital city around the world that's actually sinking at an alarming rate. It's like dropping by about the same amount and increasing ever so slightly each year. So it's pretty scary. I'll enlighten you as to which city that is a little bit later on. And over in Germany, on the Autobahn, there was some slime on the Autobahn that's causing accidents. And this isn't something to do with the release of the new Ghostbusters film. They're not trying to promote Slimer or anything like that by putting slime over the Autobahn here. It's a really kind of strange thing that's happened here, and I love some of the terminology in this story, so I can't wait to get to that one and share it with you. But what about you, Reid? What do you got?
Well, a guy in America has created an app, so if you don't like parking fines, you might like the idea of this app. It gets you out of them, so you don't want to pay a parking fine. This guy will help you very much. And there's been a massive amount of results, so we'll talk about that as well. Also, there's a food truck slash fast food chain up in Melbourne. They had a competition during the week to change your surname to Burger. And if you did that, they would give you free burgers for life.
I did hear about this.
As great as a story as it was, there was a development later in the week, and I don't think a lot of people actually know about it. So we'll talk more about that as well. So that took me by surprise. There's also a grandmother in the UK. Now, a guy was visiting his grandmother, doing his washing and his drying, went to use her computer to do some internet searching, as we all do, and was quite surprised at the terminology used on the internet searching that she was doing. So we'll talk more about that. It's a nice story, and sort of shows you there's a bit of good old, relatives like that still around. So we'll talk more about that. Also, there's a new study out, as there always is, suggesting that if you wake up and you check your mobile phone, you may go blind. And there is actually a simple way of avoiding this, and it won't cost you a cent.
Putting your brightness settings down, maybe?
You'd think so, but no.
Oh, okay. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll find out what that whole is about when we get to it a bit later on. But, of course, you can follow along with the show as well at Weird News Weekly on Twitter. We've been getting a bit of feedback there throughout the week. As well as that, you can also follow the show on Tumblr as well, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. Leave us your voicemails right there as well, and share your opinions on one of the stories covered in the show. Follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and, of course, we're even right here on YouTube if you're watching the video version of this. A huge response to the video version of the show throughout the last week. I was actually surprised at how many views that we actually got in our first week of the show. It was really cool, Reid.
So we really underestimated the amount of people that would actually take the time to watch it and to, get in touch with the show. And I was really surprised myself. It was great to see that there's been quite a few views only a few days later.
Well, yeah, I think even just as we're recording this episode right now, we're recording this on a Sunday afternoon, and at the moment we have just over 50 views on our first episode of the show, so that's pretty good for a first episode, so pretty happy with that right there. But yeah, more about our Weird News Weekly stories coming up for you soon, so stick around. So Reid, Willy Wonka this year celebrates 45 years, the movie version of the story itself. Obviously there was a book version before that, but the movie has now been out for 45 years this year, and with that there's some really kind of strange facts that go along with the movie that we may not have previously known. And one of those is concerning the Oompa Loompas, Reid, and I find this quite funny. What do you reckon the Oompa Loompa one might be concerning here?
Well, I reckon they would have spent a bit of time offset doing some naughty things. Am I in the ballpark area?
Yeah, it's pretty much it. The Oompa Loompas were notoriously mischievous, apparently, behind the scenes of the movie. When the cameras weren't rolling, they were basically just downing the alcohol. And reports have it that they were just constantly drunk behind the scenes, and they were just causing havoc behind the scenes for everyone. And I'm looking at a picture right here on my screen of like all the Oompa Loompas that were in the movie with they're all pictured there with Gene Wilder, who was Willy Wonka in the movie, and yeah, their eyes do look a little bit glazed over at the time. There was actually 10 of them that were hired to do the movie, and yeah, they would do their parts on the movie, sing their little songs and whatever, and then just go off and have a couple of beers, and then come back and do their bits again, go off, have a couple of beers, and yeah, apparently just playing pranks on everyone because they were so drunk all the time.
Because that's what you do on a kid's film. You get drunk off the set and you come back inebriated and have fun.
Now, one of the interesting ones that I thought here was about Gene Wilder himself, who did play Willy Wonka in the film. Apparently, he was very demanding about one particular scene that happened in the movie. And this is actually the first time that you see Willy Wonka in the movie itself. What do you remember about this whole situation?
Ooh, not a great deal. I mean, which scene are we talking about in particular?
When he first walks out the front door of the chocolate factory itself and greets the crowd there at the gates.
Oh, well, it's a weird way that he walks out. He's got that cane in his hand and he's walking out really funny. Yeah. And then he does like a loop or something and he says, ta-da!
Yeah.
Something about that sort of scene, Mo?
That was actually all his idea.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Because the producers and the directors just wanted him to walk out and be like, hey, it's Willy Wonka, everyone get excited, guys. And he was just like, no, I think we should do this a little bit differently. And then describe that whole scenario to them where he's walking along with his cane all like frail and whatever. His cane gets stuck in the ground and then he takes a couple of steps further before he realizes that his cane's not in his hand anymore, and then just kind of falls forward, does the somersault and then pops up and everyone's like, hey, he's magic, it's Willy Wonka. And it says the reason why he did this is because then for the rest of the movie you wouldn't know if you could actually trust him or not.
Oh,
and
I wouldn't have picked that.
Yeah, well, that was the kind of, idea that he wanted to put into people's minds, where it's just like, okay, can you trust this madman, Willy Wonka, throughout this film?
I must say, I think that's a brilliant way of actually how he, entered the scene, because, I think him just walking out and just greeting everyone, very, very boring. You wouldn't really think, no, there's nothing great about that. It's all about the entrance, as we all know. So I think if he had that idea for that, bizarre entrance, it really made the film, I guess. So good idea from him.
Well, because when you look back at the movie itself, and then the second coming of the movie with Johnny Depp, and then both of those in comparison to the original book book had kind of some really dark undertones to it as far as who Willy Wonka actually was and what he did and all that kind of stuff. That didn't really get portrayed all that much in the Gene Wilder version of Willy Wonka, but got portrayed a little bit more with the Johnny Depp version, but that version just seemed to, go off in its whole different direction and just ended up being stupid. But it kind of, I feel like he was trying to put at least a little bit of those dark undertones in the movie now that I read that idea that he wanted to have that there. So it's kind of really interesting.
Quick tangent, have you actually seen the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka film?
I have seen most of it. I actually did see it at the cinemas, but we actually zoned out that it was that boring and we just started talking throughout the film because there was no one there in the cinema when we actually saw it. It was me, my 4 friends, and maybe 2 other people that were sitting right down the front, so they wouldn't have been able to hear us like whispering to each other anyway. But we did zone out for a lot of the movie because we didn't really find it all that entertaining.
As have a lot of people who have since seen that film. They've just zoned out altogether.
Yeah.
I don't know if that did any well at the box office. From memory, I don't think it did. I don't think
it did that great. But yeah. Now, another thing that happened with the movie was filmed over in Germany. And, you know, all the actual stars of the film were flown over to Germany to film the movie there over, I think it was about 9 weeks that it took to film the movie itself. And all the child actors in the film were actually paid $500 a week, which doesn't seem all that much compared to the salaries that an actor would get these days for a commitment like that.
It's pocket money, really.
Yeah, basically. And the kind of thing that went along with this as far as, I guess, sweetening the deal for them a little bit, they were also allowed to bring their parents and their guardians over as, like, for free, basically, because, you know, that was what was happening with the movie. They needed a parent and guardian to come over with them. And so they were getting paid $500 a week and getting free food, free accommodation, and all that kind of stuff to be there recording the movie in Germany. So, yeah.
There's a lot of, if you think of films today with kids in them, I think the amount of demands they have nowadays is extraordinary. I mean, there's a lot of stage mums, I guess, as you could call them.
Yeah.
They're very particular about little Johnny being, you know, looked after, and they get quite over the top. So I think back in those days, it was much more easier having child actors than it is in, you know, 2016.
Mm-hmm. Now, when I think about the dark undertones of this whole thing, there's been a lot of conspiracy theories over the years, I should say, and there's a very bizarre one here that's kind of come up in this article, and that whole thing is that Willy Wonka had apparently rigged the golden ticket competition to ensure that only children actually won and not adults.
How would you rig it, though? I mean, presumably it was all in chocolate bars, so really anyone could get it. So how could you rig it so kids only could win?
Well, I guess he's a magic man and had Mr. Slugworth out there making sure, like, that... Because Slugworth was watching over all the winners of who actually got the golden ticket. So I guess Slugworth could kind of go, okay, I'm seeing this kid in the street, let's put a Wonka bar in front of him somewhere so he'll buy it, and then...
Sounds a bit dark. Let's trick the kid with the...
No, but that's the whole thing with the theory here. This bizarre conspiracy theory with the movie is that Willy Wonka actually made his chocolate out of bad children.
Oh.
Hence why Augustus Gloop got sucked up the tube in the chocolate river. Mike TV was made into a chocolate bar via the TV thing going overhead and all that kind of stuff. And Charlie was the survivor.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Yeah, it's really, really strange. Now, an obvious one here, the chocolate river, surprise, surprise, wasn't actually made of chocolate. Oh no, never would have thought it.
Shocking.
Yeah, it was basically water and food dye. So...
Oh, you're ruining all the magic now, Ben. I grew up thinking that was chocolate. Now I'm in two minds.
But yeah, no shocks as far as that one's concerned. But the guy who played Charlie Bucket, what is he doing now? Have you heard anything of this guy? Yeah.
I have not heard a single thing.
And the reason why...
He's still alive?
Yes, he is.
Oh, good.
He's in his 50s now, I think it is, yeah. Now in his 50s. His name is Peter Ostrom.
So he's changed his name.
Oh, well, he was Charlie Bucket in the movie.
Oh, sorry,
his real name is Peter Ostrom.
So presumably he would have only done the Willy Wonka film, and he's... sort of shunned the spotlight on being an actor?
He stopped acting after Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He was offered a 3-picture deal with the studios that made Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and he turned it down after making the first movie.
Do you think that's probably actually a good decision? Because, I mean, the success that film had was enormous. I don't think he could have matched that with another film due to the popularity of it. I think he actually made a good choice there.
Well, judging by what he's doing with himself now, I think he made a very good choice in particular, because after the movie actually finished, he went back home and he quickly found this new love for medicine as a very young kid. And with that, he used his earnings of the film itself to buy his first horse, and since then has been studying to become a vet, and now is a successful vet and has 2 kids and a wife, and they live in New York City.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is interesting. I never would have picked a vet. That's interesting. That's really interesting.
But if you want to check out more about these facts, there's a couple more in there that I haven't gone over. They're kind of like small, little interesting ones. If you want to check them out, I'll post the links for you right now at the Twitter account, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. You can leave us a voicemail about this story right there as well. And check it out and get involved with the show. So, Reid, something we don't have to worry about too much here anymore in Geelong because our weekend parking now is free, thanks to our former mayor, Darren Lyons. Yeah, we love it. But during the week, obviously, we have to be a little bit more careful. But overseas, especially in the US, they have to be super careful because the parking inspectors are out all the time. And that's what got this particular guy on the creative bandwagon and kind of created this new thing.
Yeah, well, Joshua Bowder is the guy's name. He's a freshman over in New York, and he had enough of getting parking fines because, being a young freshman, you don't have a lot of money. So presumably you need to, do the right thing when it comes to, parking your car. Well, unfortunately, this guy did a few wrong things, and he has learnt maybe there's a way of getting out of parking fines. So then he has created an app, as we all do. The app is called Do Not Pay, and the premise of the app is actually it's quite interesting because what he's doing is he's using a formula, like an algorithm, to overturn any parking fines. Mm-hmm. So what he's doing is he looked into it a bit more. I think he had something like 20 parking fines in the space of 2 years. So He was getting a lot of, which is quite a lot. I mean, they add up. So what he did was he created an app at the age of 19, and to avoid parking fines, it uses terminology in the app. So if you want to, let's say, for example, Johnny the citizen gets a parking fine, doesn't know how to appeal it, gets the app, and in the app, it gives you ways of getting out of a fine using terminology. Not ways of getting out of the app. So he will let you know what has been previously successful as getting out of a parking fine. So he came up with a list of all these reasons that got people out of parking fines previously, put it into an app so that if you do happen to, get a parking fine, this way you'll actually get out of a parking fine. And there's been a lot of success.
Yeah, that's actually a really clever idea.
Well, I must say, I myself have never had any parking fines, touch wood. And I think if you do want to, because let's face it, people don't like paying for parking, but they also don't like parking fines. Up in Melbourne, for example, the amount of money they make the city of Melbourne, rather, they make more money in parking fines than they do in your taxes.
Wow.
So, which is incredible. So I think here in Geelong, for example, I think they earn about 1 million in parking fines every financial year, which is quite a lot, which is just people not paying for parking. Yeah. But I found out how much this guy has overturned. Since in the 9 months, right, now think about that, 9 months of operation, he has overturned 160,000 parking fines. Okay. So that's the amount of fines he has overturned.
Geez, doing pretty well then.
Yeah, but this is where it gets even better. In the 9 months of operation, $4 million worth of parking fines has been saved. Whew. So people who were going to pay a parking fine have used the app to use all the terminology they use in the app, and now since they've used that as a defense to get out of the app, they've dismissed the fine.
Quick tangent.
$4 million, yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, but there's only one time that I've ever thought that I got a parking fine. And that was when I returned to our former radio station. Remember this day?
Yes,
so what happened on this day? Obviously, we're filling everyone in who's listening right now. I returned to the community radio station that we were working for at the time, doing our previous show, Wednesday Drive, and I paid up until, I think it was about, 20 past 5, and the parking zone had to be paid up until 5:30, but I didn't have enough change to pay through for the extra 10 minutes. And I was like, I bet you just my luck, I'll be the one that gets fined today for not paying the extra 10 minutes of time. And I walked out the front of the station after we finished our show, looked up the street, and straight away saw something sitting on my windscreen. And I was like, oh no, my first ever parking fine. And so I've kind of walked up there in a bit of a hurry, getting there quickly just so I can see what it actually is. Got into my car, and it was just an envelope. And I was like, wait a second, parking fines don't come in envelopes. It's like a little slip of paper sitting on your windscreen under your actual windscreen wiper there. And so I pulled out the envelope, and it just said, to the car owner. And I've opened it up, and it says, sorry, but one of our vehicles has hit your car. And I was like, what? where is the vehicle hit my car? And I've gone around to the side of my car and there was this big massive dent in the side of my door because, the street where we were actually parking our cars, there's a really tight one and there's all these like side driveways and someone from one of the neighbouring businesses just backed out and smacked into the side of my car. So it was a little
From memory, your car door was very difficult to open, wasn't it?
Yeah. I had to actually take it to the panel beaters and they had to actually smack it around with a hammer just so I could use it until they fixed it. So it was a very awkward... I spent 2 days getting in from the passenger side of my car and climbing over the centre console. Which was, very annoying.
But at least they left you a note. I mean, I think you'd be surprised at the amount of people who are involved in those sort of car accidents, those minor ones, who don't leave a note. I was very lucky that they left the notes and also very lucky that it was a big business company car that crashed into the side of my car. So it's all paid for through their business and there was no shadiness going on. So, it all worked out for itself very well, which I was happy with. So a good result all round.
Yeah, good result.
Back to the story, though. Did you realise, I did not realise until I looked into this, in the year 2014, New York City collected $546 million in just parking fines.
Whoa, that's huge.
That's just parking fines. That's not the actual, metered parking where you got to put your money into the meter. That's like a separate thing as well. But they've also made 500. So they probably made close to $1 billion. Just for parking altogether.
That's crazy.
Incredible. I know.
So that's all just government money on top of like what goes to the government with taxes and that as well. They're making an absolute packet.
Exactly. So I can understand why people are trying to really push the whole public transport movement. Because, I mean, it's getting very expensive just to have your car parked in the street. So good on this guy for doing it. So far to date, they've had a 64% success rate from total amount of fines that they've been able to overturn. So they've still got a bit of a way to go before they get that full 100% success rate. But in the 9 months of operation, 64% of fines they've been able to overturn thanks to this app called Do Not Pay.
Now, are there any signs of this app actually branching out to other countries, or is it just a US-based thing at the moment?
Well, he's done it in both New York and London.
Oh, okay.
So there's been 2 countries. Apparently, he wants to try and see if he can get it up and running in Seattle. So obviously another part of America. I reckon this app might have some legs if it does manage to come its way to Australia. The amount of parking fines up in Melbourne, as I've just mentioned, is enormous. Sydney, all the capital cities really make a bunch of money through parking fines. So, and it's the one fine people don't like paying for. They don't like parking fines at all. They'll avoid it, and you get into more debt if you don't pay your parking fine on time. So I can understand why an app like this would be created. I reckon it'll be a matter of time before this app makes its way to Australia, if it's not already at the moment. So keep your eye in the App Store for that one. Do Not Pay.
Yeah, if you want to check out more on this story, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. Leave us a voicemail right there if you want to share your opinions on this story and get involved with the show. Hey Reid, this whole Brexit thing that's been happening recently where Britain has separated from the EU, it's been a pretty crazy situation, and surprise, surprise, people are trying to cash in on the whole Brexit term and make a whole range of products with this whole thing. And yeah, surprise, surprise, once again, it's the US.
Oh, well, what a surprise.
Yeah. In this particular case, it's a Boston beer company. They're the owners of the Samuel Adams brand of beer, which I have no idea what that is because I don't drink beer or alcohol at all, for that matter. So, yeah, they've sought to capitalise on Britain's decision to leave the European Union by filing a trademark for the term Brexit to make a range of hard ciders.
Oh. Right.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if there's any reason behind hard cider. Like, do people over in the UK tend to drink more cider than beer and it's going to sell quite well over in the UK, maybe? I don't know.
It's worth a Google search at the least.
Yeah. But apparently they're not the only ones trying to file a trademark to make money off this whole Brexit thing. Another trademark was filed over in Chicago by a clothing company for men.
Oh.
Now, I don't know what kind of clothes that you would make that just say, hey, Brexit across my chest or something like that. Like, what would you be doing there?
It sounds like, I mean, the word Brexit, I must admit, I actually quite like the word. I think you could use it in some sort of, colloquial term. I'm in Brexit.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
it on your word. I think it could have legs, that one.
But as well as that,
Brexit.
there's also one in Colorado who are trying to cash in on this once again. They're trying to make a line of dietary and nutritional supplements.
Well, that's interesting. The amount of people that buy supplements is huge. So,
Yeah.
cash in. We're on a popular market already.
So I guess you'll be
smart idea.
getting your Brexit protein and your Brexit creatine powder.
Oh, yeah. We'll all be, giving Brexit tablets all the time. Yeah.
Now, I have to put the question to you. If you were thinking about filing a trademark for the term Brexit and using it to brand a product, what would you, be trying to make with this, do you reckon?
Well, you'd have to look at what people spend money on willingly.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon, I'm just trying to think of, if the Kardashians can make an app
Yeah.
that is virtually nothing in the app anyway and charge you $2.99 for it, I reckon there's legs in making an app with Brexit. Now, as far as what the actual app will be, I don't know whether it's a game or some sort of non-game app. I reckon we could look into that, because I reckon you could make fun of the whole, situation of the UK leaving the EU for Brexit. Because did you know apparently the number one Google search term after the Brexit vote in the UK, a lot of people in the UK were Googling, what does Brexit mean?
Oh, okay.
So that it turns out a lot of people had no idea. So you could have a bit of fun with Brexit and turning it into a game and charging people $2.99 for it. Done. So there's my idea for Brexit.
I would possibly think about, because it's because it is Brexit, and you've got the whole exit thing on there as well. But I would get rid of the X and maybe do like a double G in there instead, and maybe have some sort of egg product. Brexit.
Ooh. Yeah, that could work.
Yeah, do something crazy with eggs and like make it some... Because you know how you can get like egg whites in a carton and all that kind of stuff?
Oh,
Yeah.
easy.
Frozen egg whites in a carton. I feel like you'd make some random product like that and just sit it on the shelves over in the UK, and people would just be like, Brexit, that's a play on words. That's hilarious. I like that.
That could work. So I think you're on something there.
Yeah.
Brexit, yeah.
But I reckon we need to get answers from other people as well. Leave us a voicemail, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. You can leave us a voicemail right there, or via the SpeakPipe app as well. If you have the SpeakPipe app on your smartphone, leave us a 90-second voicemail and tell us what kind of product you would like to market with the name Brexit. Because I reckon we could get some very interesting responses with this one. But it just seems weird that it's all Americans straight away who are trying to cash in on this whole thing that's going on.
They're always after $1, the Americans. So,
Yeah.
Not surprised that it's the America that's driving all the money for Brexit.
But if you want to follow along with this story, of course, you can do so at Weird News Weekly on Twitter, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. Leave us your voicemails. We'd love to hear your opinions on this story and get involved with the show. So, Reid, we have a story here about someone being very nice to Google, always saying please and thank you and all that kind of stuff. What actually happened here?
Yeah, I guess we're so used to the whole internet outrage term there. It's actually nice to see it on the opposite end, the internet niceness. A guy called Ben John, which, by the way, very unusual name if that is his actual name.
Two
Ben
first names.
John. Yeah, I've always liked it when that happens. So hopefully that is his actual names. But he was visiting his grandmother recently, as he does on a regular occasion. He doesn't have a washer and a dryer at his house, so he often visits his grandmother, and he does that, but he also does other things at his grandmother's house, so he's a nice grandson.
Yeah.
What happened one occasion was he was putting his clothes in the washer, and he was waiting for it to dry. So he got a bit bored. He didn't have his phone with him, so he just asked if he could use his... Well, not asked, but he used his grandmother's laptop. Now, by the way, I think that's very rude. It appears that he hasn't even asked her, hey, Gran, can I use your laptop? I want to go on the internet to do some searching.
So he could have found
son.
all sorts of weird stuff on there if he had been looking in the wrong places.
Well, let's not go there. I mean, again, other naughty searching. I mean, there's Google searches for that will lead you into very dark places on the internet.
Yes.
So let's not go there. But she must not have a password, because he has apparently just been able to open up the laptop and just Google search straight away.
Okay.
So no security from the grandmother, which is very interesting. She's very trusting, it would appear.
Yeah.
What he has done is he has gone onto her laptop, gone onto Google, and he's found some of her Google searches. Mm-hmm. Now, the Google searches that she was finding, they weren't nasty, they weren't bad or anything. She did a recent Google search for a Roman numeral. Now, she wanted to translate the Roman numeral MCMXCVIII, or 111. After that, there's been the word please. So she's Googled, can you translate, the Roman numerals, please?
Yeah.
So he was quite surprised about that. And as he digged a bit further, there were more similar searches. So every search she would do, she would always put a please or a thank you.
Because is this one of those classic cases of someone thinking that on the other end of Google there's actually a real person there doing things for you?
Well, he asked her about that, and she said, she thought if she was nice, it would speed up the process.
Oh, okay.
So maybe she thought there was an actual person working at Google doing all the searching for her. So she thought if she was nice, she would get a quicker response as opposed to being rude and not getting a response at all.
Yeah.
So it turns out that she has often used please and thank you at the end of all of her Google searches. And of course, what did he do? He took a screenshot of it and he uploaded it to Twitter. And, because that's what you do nowadays. I mean, if you've got a story that you think might go viral, upload it to social media. And he's since done that. And his screenshot of the whole Google searches that she was doing has been retweeted 27,000 times.
Oh, wow.
Now, he's got nowhere near that amount of followers, so obviously the story has picked up a bit of traction from people, and they've thought how adorable it is. Mm-hmm. The grandmother's name, I'm not sure if I mentioned that to you, May is her name. She's 86 years old. Now, how cool is that? An 86-year-old going on the laptop and still using the internet. That's pretty cool. I was really happy about that.
Kicking about online at that age. Good stuff.
Yeah, so May Ashworth, an 86-year-old British grandmother. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, the guy, Ben John, 25 years old. So he's obviously still, around the corner from where he lives. And anyway, the great thing about this story that I liked was that Google replied.
Okay.
So he's taken his stuff to Twitter and, they've been quite happy with it. Mm-hmm. Google, as I mentioned, they were quite happy with it, and they said, we're so thankful that we have nice users on the internet. So thank you, May. So brilliant. So nice work from Google to actually not only be aware of the story, but to actually reply in such a nice manner.
I wonder if this is one of those things where Google should do something interesting with their algorithm. Because, if you search things like Chuck Norris and all that kind of stuff, you end up with weird things about Chuck Norris if you search that into Google. And there was even this one case where if you searched a wrestler's name recently, it came up with all this weird and wild stuff about this guy, Sami Zayn, or El Generico as he was previously known. There was all this weird stuff that was coming about him, up about him through Google, because whoever does the algorithm at Google must have been a real big Sami Zayn fan. So that was something that people cottoned onto with that whole thing. I wonder if they should maybe work something out with their algorithm that when you say thank you on the end of one of your searches or please at the end of one of your searches, it should do something kind of nice for you, like have little fireworks on the screen after your search is done or something like that.
I like it. I just like this story though, because it's nice to know that we still have, I guess, manners being used, because too often people don't say please and thank you. My mother to this day still insists that all of her sons, myself included obviously, still say please and thank you whenever we talk to her and whenever we get served anywhere. So if I get a coffee, I will always say please and thank you. And I don't even think about saying that anymore. It's just become part of my vernacular. I will always insist on saying please and thank you. So but it's good to see that, this story has gone viral. Too often than not, we have come across stories that should not have become viral, some really nasty stories. Good on this one for, getting a bit of attention. And, she's had a bit of a laugh about it herself. She's been really enjoying it. When asked about the story, she said, nothing like this has ever happened to me before, so I'm really thankful.
Oh, cool.
Boom.
Actually, you know what I would like to see as far as the algorithm on Google, if they were going to do something like that? You know how when you first go to the Google page and it says Google in the big letters and you do your search, if you type please on the end of that search and you hit enter, then it goes through to the next page, you usually see a smaller Google logo up in the top corner, so you can go back to the home page again. With their different animation settings and all that kind of stuff for their Google logos all the time, that Google logo should change to the words "thank you" in Google Colors, or you're welcome in Google Colors.
I like that. Let's try and get that happening.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I like it. Let's do it.
But if you want to check out more with this story, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter, you can check out the details right there. Also, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. Leave us a voicemail, let us know your thoughts on this story, and get involved with the show. Hey, Reid, there's a major city around the world that's actually sinking at an alarming rate year by year at the moment. Now, have you heard anything about this at all?
Going to say no, because I absolutely have not heard anything about this story.
So no idea of what city it might be whatsoever?
Is it Colac?
No, it's not Colac.
Oh.
It is not the city that I used to work in. It's actually Beijing, China.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it's all
a few issues.
It's apparently all to do with the groundwater, because they're a very thirsty city, apparently.
Right.
So
it's like Melbourne's a thirsty city for alcohol.
Yeah, basically. It's a really bizarre situation here where some areas of Beijing are actually sinking up to 11 centimetres per year, which is just huge as far as the structural integrity of the city is concerned. They're actually saying that it's almost sinking under its own success, because they just keep building and building and building, and then that's attracting more and more and more people, which is taking up all the groundwater, and the groundwater's decreasing, which is sinking all the buildings in.
Wow. I mean, I've heard of all those ghost cities they have over there.
Yeah.
So, wow, to have this happening, that's incredible.
And to think of all the stuff that could actually affect as well, up like things such as the buildings themselves are sinking into the ground, but also that could wreck the integrity of the underground train system as well, because things are sinking basically into the underground train line. So that could cause havoc if it eventually breaks through.
Yeah. God, imagine all the trains going off the course because of this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Be on the train all of a sudden. Whoop, whoop.
It could be one of those big disasters that we see in our time around the world or something like that. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but in this situation, when you're looking at the figures here of how much it's sinking per year, there's only really one area that's sinking up to 11 centimeters per year. That is Chongyang. That's sinking that much. And then there's other areas of the city, including Changping, Shunyi, and Tongzhou. I hope I haven't butchered any of those names. I probably have at least one of them. But
yeah,
there's a lot of areas that are sinking, but Chaoyang is the one that is sinking the most at upwards of 11 centimeters per year. And it says here that the areas sank more than 75 centimeters during the study period that they actually, looked at these studies of how much it was sinking by.
Wow, that's just incredible to think that that's actually happening, sort of as we speak, that there's a city over there that could not be in existence because of this happening, because of their own success.
But according to rumours and urban legends, however you want to put it, there actually is another city who's kind of suffering the same as well. And rumour has it that it's Boston over in Massachusetts in the US.
Wow, Boston.
Because, and believe it or not, the rumour is that the whole city of Boston was built on a dump.
Really?
So Boston, Massachusetts was basically the dumping ground for everyone's garbage, and then they've just built a city on top of existing garbage.
It reminds me of that episode of The Simpsons where they're just trying to put all the garbage into those unused mines where it's going to explode and oh wow, that's great.
So as that garbage decreases in size and decomposes and all that kind of stuff, Boston is actually sinking into the sinkhole of the dump that was there originally.
Oh, could you imagine living with garbage like that? I mean,
yeah. Now let's just imagine this from a Melbourne standpoint, for example. If this was actually happening in Melbourne, that would cause the most outrage and uproar ever. And we are nowhere near on the scale of what Beijing is. That place is huge. It caters for so many people on a daily basis, even way more than what Melbourne would see in a day. And I feel like we would get so much more crazy about it than they are over there at the moment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we make mountains out of molehills over here. So I think that could happen.
Well, it wouldn't necessarily be a molehill; it'd be a big sinkhole.
But absolutely.
But yeah, it's kind of got me wondering how worried people are actually about this whole situation. Because if you look at the map here that we'll post up on the Twitter and the Tumblr accounts a bit later on, you can actually see like which areas are affected the most. There's like the green areas, which are about 6 to 10 centimeters. There's the lighter green areas that are going anywhere from like 20 centimeters, and then it just keeps getting more and more and more as the years progress, and they've like kind of seen what the future holds over X amount of years and how much it could actually sink before there is a lot of trouble that's going to happen over there.
Wow, I mean because whenever I turn on the news and there's always those sinkholes happening in America, they're quite big and there's always on the roads. But I remember there was this one, might have been somewhere in America where there was this, I think it was like an area where there was a lot of water. So I think it's like this swampland, and all of a sudden there was no swamp there anymore. Yeah, the water just all went into the ground. And it was just dry land. So it was really weird. So I think whenever these sinkholes happen in America, there's always outrage. And I have actually heard of these happening in Victoria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we have had a couple of sinkholes going on around here.
We have. So we could see something like this happen in, Australia soon.
Well, it's saying here that Beijing is the 5th most water-stressed city in the world, and the demand for water is exceeding the supply. So basically what they're saying here is that Beijing basically sits on water, and the more water that's being consumed, the more it's actually sinking into the ground, which is a really worrying thing considering it's the most populous city in China. Everyone's going there to get stuff and do their jobs and whatever, and they're all consuming too much water whilst they're there, so everything's sinking, of course.
So maybe there's a bit too many health-conscious people over there, because, I mean, we're always told to drink more water.
Yeah.
So maybe they're going to have to run government ads that say, don't drink that much water.
But I guess it being such an industry-heavy city as well, like there'd be a lot of machinery that would need water to run and like all these irrigation things that are going on, like as far as keeping the city humming to get everyone going there and doing whatever they need to do. And yeah, it's just causing havoc on the place.
The poor locals. But what's going to happen to all the animals in the water? Are they still going to be in existence anytime soon?
Yeah, it could be
cease to exist.
It could be a bit of a worrying situation for them, but apparently they've completed this whole water diversion project that aims to channel 44.8 billion cubic meters of fresh water annually from a nearby river into southern China. And it's still not keeping up with the demand of what they actually need for the city itself.
Oh, geez. So they're going to have to come up with like what's that thing in Victoria in Wonthaggi, the desalination plant?
Yeah.
So I think that turns waste into water. So maybe they'll need to come up with those. Of course, unlike us, they'll have to actually have one that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because ours doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a lot of money and it just doesn't work.
But how crazy is that? 44.8 billion cubic meters of fresh water annually, and that's still not enough to keep up with demand. That's huge.
That is just incredible. I mean, that's so much water, and it's still not enough. I mean, what's going to be enough? I mean, 50 billion, 100 billion? What is going to be enough? It's too much.
If you want to read more about this troubling looking story here, though, you can check out the details at Weird News Weekly on Twitter, also weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. And if you are someone from Boston as well, I'd love to know if those rumours are actually true, or if you've been to Boston, you know a bit about Boston or something like that. Leave us a voicemail at the Tumblr page or via the SpeakPipe app and tell us if the rumours are true that Boston is actually a city on top of garbage that is actually sinking. I would love to know if this is actually a real thing. So yeah, leave us your voicemail, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com, and get involved with the show. So Reid, up in Melbourne, there's this situation going on at the moment with a burger chain or a burger store food truck thing that's going on up there, and they're offering free burgers for life.
Yeah, they ran a competition last week, the fast food truck / chain business called Mr. Burger. I'm not sure where Mrs. Burger is in all this, but Mr. Burger it is. Anyway, they had a competition during the week on their Facebook page, and the basic competition was something like this, where if you change your name legally to Burger, so your surname legally to Burger, they would offer you free burgers for life.
Wow.
Now, they wanted some actual, evidence that you did do it. So you had to get like a, certificate from the birth, marriage, and whatever place they call it with proof that you actually have changed your name legally to Burger. Now, that story went viral, as they say. I say that quite a lot, but this story did go viral because it got some traction over in America, and even in like Bangkok, apparently they were talking about it. So it did get a bit. Yeah, I found that surprising myself. But they got a bit of traction for that story, which is understandable. It's a pretty big competition to run. Yeah. So for them to do it over the 2 days since they ran the competition, massive amount of traction. It was on Sunrise, the TV show, as well as a few other TV talk shows as well. But it did get quite a lot of traction, this story. And I came across it. I actually have had a burger from Mr. Burger, and I can guarantee they are nice burgers. So if you are in Melbourne and you do happen to come across a Mr. Burger store, get a burger there because they are quite nice.
Well, yeah, we actually our breakfast show at the radio station that I work for actually covered it on our breakfast show this week, and they were just like, "Oh, should we actually change our names to Burger?" And they're just like, "Nah, going to Melbourne for a burger is a bit too far if you're getting free burgers for life." So if it had have actually been a Ballarat establishment that was offering free burgers for life, I think one of our hosts on the breakfast show might have actually considered it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, let's face it, a burger nowadays costs anywhere north of $10.
Yeah.
So if you're getting one of those every week, you're saving about a couple of grand every year for life, times that by however long you live for. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars. So, yeah. But anyway, this story got a bit of traction, but it took a bit of a dark turn because later in the week there was a development. Now, this didn't come from the Mr. Burger themselves. It came from a Victorian government department. Now, what happened was it was called the Victorian Government Solicitor's Office.
Right.
Okay? Try saying that 5 times in a row.
I'm not even going to try.
They sent an essay-length email to the marketing manager, who have sent, and they basically said something along the lines of, they will not process any applications for people changing their name legally to Burger. So they sent a cease and desist letter saying we will not accept any applications for the name Burger. So they had to reveal on their Facebook page last week that, unfortunately, gang, we can't do the competition anymore. Now, I was a bit sad myself, but I thought about this. I thought, hang on, was this like all a ploy, or was this like a trick to sort of guarantee people would be talking about Mr. Burger and the store themselves? So maybe that has been a bit lost in translation. I thought maybe there was a bit of a gimmick to sort of get people to talking about Mr. Burger and to, get their image on TV and all that sort of stuff. So maybe that is part of the story. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. I don't know. But they did say they were going to actually do this as a competition. So what they did later in the week was they had another competition. And this one is a bit more easier to enter. So all you had to do was they were going to offer you free burgers at one of their stores, and all you had to do was line up, fill in some details, so your name, your email address, all that sort of stuff, and they would just pick out one at a random, and you'd get free burgers for life if they choose you.
Oh, wow. That's a lot easier.
That is much more easier. I don't know why they didn't just do that, because the more you think about it, I don't think the whole surname to burger thing was actually ever going to happen. I think it was a bit of a gimmick to begin with, and I think they knew fully well that it was never going to happen. So I think they sort of played a bit on a while and got a bit of traction. But anyway, they then sort of revealed that, look, if you come to one of our stores, if you line up and you get a free burger, give us your name and your details, and you'll get free burgers for life. Well, they've got a winner. Sophie Tucker is the woman's name, and she has won free burgers for life, or for lining up for a free burger.
Now, with free burgers for life, is that only burgers for her, or can she get burgers for all her friends as well if she was to take a group of people in there?
Well, publicly, they've only said free burgers for life, but I reckon behind closed doors, there's a lot more going on than just free burgers for life. I reckon there's all kinds of terms and conditions, like you can only have one every day or one every week, for example. You can't transfer your burgers to other customers. So I reckon they've got all kinds of terms and conditions that there must be some sort of legal contract that says you can't, transfer any of your burgers to your friends or your family. So I'm certain there's a lot more to this story than what meets the eye.
Now, I want to address the whole thing as far as how much burgers cost these days. You mentioned at the start of this break here that you said burgers can cost anywhere upwards of $10 for a decent burger. At a restaurant these days, like a burger can cost anywhere from that upwards. And it's kind of got me thinking, have people forgotten about fish and chip shops?
I absolutely think they have. My father is always telling me there was a stall around the corner from us just recently, and they sold one of the best burgers he's ever told me. And I had the burger. My goodness, it was fantastic. Unfortunately, the owner sold the store and didn't sell the recipe to the new owner.
Oh, no.
He's since gone to that fish and chip shop, and the burger doesn't taste like the previous burger. Tastes okay, but nowhere near as good. And I reckon you're right. I reckon this has been lost in all of this. There's all kinds of burger stores that are, specialise in burgers, but the old burger at the fish and chip shop, still the best burger you can get.
Because you go to like some of these burger chains who are supposed to be serving you gourmet burgers, and you go in there and pay $10, $12 for this burger and a small side of fries or whatever, and it's, a decent burger. Some of them are really good, some of them are not so great, but you go to the fish and chip shop, pay like $5 and you get a burger with the lot, and it's amazing.
It's underrated. They're just incredible, those burgers. So if you have a good fish and chip shop and you have a good burger you go to, you never not go there, because their flavour and the taste, and plus the price as well. I mean, you're not paying ridiculous amounts for a burger. You're paying pretty good money for a burger from the good old fish and chip shop.
And where you would go to one of these burger chains and they would say, okay, if you want to put this on the burger, it's $1 extra. If you want to put that on the burger, it's $1 extra. Most places you go to a fish and chip shop, extra sauce is free, and it'll only cost you 20 cents for a ring of pineapple.
Brilliant. Very good. So that's where you go for a burger, not in these fancy places.
Exactly. If you want to get more about this story, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. Leave us a voicemail, share your thoughts on this story, and get involved with the show. Hey, Reid, over in Germany on the Autobahn, their big expressway over there, there's been a little bit of traffic chaos being caused because of slime over the road.
Slime of all things.
Yeah, slime of all things, slime over the road. And this isn't, as we said at the start of the show, this isn't some cross-promotion for the new Ghostbusters movie. They're not promoting Slimer or anything like that in conjunction with Ghostbusters or anything. There was legit slime over the road, and it caused accidents on the Autobahn. Believe it or not, it was because of a whole heap of snails.
Snails?
Yeah.
Oh, so from the slime that they generate?
Yep.
How many snails do they have?
Apparently heaps of snails, this whole big massive pod of snails, crossed the road in one particular area and left the road covered in slime, and it started causing accidents on the Autobahn.
Oh, that is very bizarre.
Yeah.
I would not have picked snails for this story.
The one thing that I love about this story, though, is there is a part of the article here that says there was a man's car that struck the side of the Autobahn, the railings of the Autobahn, after he drove over what police called a whole caravan of snails. Is that the collective term for a heap of snails, a caravan?
A caravan.
I mean, we've got like a murder of crows or a flock of seagulls or something like that.
Yeah.
Is a big group of snails a caravan, a whole caravan of snails?
Well, it makes sense. I mean, caravans do go quite slow, just like a snail. So a group of them, caravan. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, why not? But who would have actually thought that, this could actually happen? Snails crossing the road can leave slime behind that would cause cars to have accidents.
When you said slime, I immediately went to that whole Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards thing.
Yeah, the green
they
slime.
all have that green slime. I immediately went to that, but
Yeah.
I never would have picked the slime from the snails. I mean, it just doesn't go together in the story. But yet here we are talking about it.
It makes me
very unusual.
It kind of makes me wonder, though, here as well, was there an easy fix to the whole snail problem? Did they all just pick them all up and put them in containers and then ship them off to France next door, or...?
I was just going to say something about France and you've done it, so yeah. But absolutely, because I can't say, I don't think they're famous where this happened in Germany for their, snails culture. So, because, I mean, we have all kinds of snails in Australia, but they're not on the, the expressway or the highways. Of all the places for them to go, why a highway? Or the Autobahn, as they call it over there.
Well, judging by the picture of where this has happened, it's very green on either side. So there's like a lot of bush area on either side of the highway here. And it's just kind of, that time of the morning that it actually happened. It was around 7 a.m. in the morning. So not only was there the slime left over, but there was also the morning dew, as they call it, on the ground. And, the morning dew mixed with the slime made it a really slippery surface, and it started causing accidents. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Who would have thought a snail would cause an accident?
Well, yeah, I guess it's one of those situations where a lot of snails were on the move, and it just so happened to be that time of the morning where it was 7 a.m. and it's, just caused havoc for the drivers, unfortunately.
Usually it's kind of accidents on the road that, you might have been driving along and something distracts you and all of a sudden you're in a crash.
Yeah.
Who would have thought snails would be causing a crash of this sort of nature? So,
well, yeah, because
very interesting.
We listen to, obviously, like the radio broadcasts in the morning where they're just like, oh, give us a call if you see any crashes or traffic jams or cash cams, as they call them around here.
Yeah.
And, so you can, phone in if you see any accidents and all that kind of stuff and tell them what the accident is all about. Never in my life have I ever heard them mention an accident that was caused by snails.
No, I think this is going to set the precedent for weird car crashes on the road. So snails, of all things, causing the slime. I think it's brilliant. I can't say. I must admit, I can't say I've actually seen any snail for a long time now. So maybe they've all emigrated over to the Autobahn.
Maybe it seems like a big express area for not only cars but now snails as well. But surprisingly,
there's going to be a lot of.
Surprisingly, a lot of them have actually survived this whole situation because they've all majority of them have crossed the road. Apparently, the police on the scene have said, yes, some of them were actually, crushed there on the road, obviously, but they've seen where they've been travelling off to, and there was absolutely thousands of them just on the side of the road off in the grass. So they've managed to all get across the road without being hit, surprisingly.
I mean, yeah, because they're not known for their speed, snails.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Obviously, just being able to avoid being crashed. Wow, it's interesting.
If you'd like to read more about this story, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com, and leave us a voicemail right there. Get involved with the show, and read up about all this slime over the Autobahn over in Germany. Reid, a new study is showing that certain times when you check your phone could make you go blind. This is pretty full on.
It is, and with good reason too. There's been a new report in the New England Journal of Medicine, so an actual proper, report, not just something in a magazine you get in the newsagent. So what's happened is they've had a few cases where two women, not sure why there hasn't been any men, but apparently there's been two cases of women who have reported blindness when checking their phone in the morning.
Wow.
Now, as we all wake up, we usually check our phone, but there's one way that a lot of people do it, and I've been guilty of this in the past, is when you go to check your phone in the morning with one eye open, because you're still a bit tired, your alarm clock might have just gone off and you're still just struggling to get up and you might be trying to turn your alarm off on your phone. Well, there's been cases where a lot of people have actually been waking up with one eye open and one eye closed when checking it, because it requires apparently a bit of effort to open both your eyes when you're checking your phone in the morning. Mm-hmm. So what's happened is two women aged 22 and 40 years old have reportedly complained of temporary blindness. Now, this ranges from 10 minutes to a few months.
Yeah.
Now, what I mean by a few months is they'll wake up one morning and it'll be around for about 10 minutes where they've got a little bit of blindness, and other cases where they've been waking up every morning and over a period of time it's just become like a standard normal thing where they have a bit of blindness every day, which is very freaky. Which is very freaky when you think about it. So what's happened is they've looked into this more, and there is something called there is a condition called it. Now it's called transient smartphone blindness.
Oh,
now, that's not a term they've just used. It does, but it explains why when you wake up, you have got one part of your brain not working because you've got too much light coming into one eye, but not the other. Because we have two eyes, equal amounts of light in order to function properly with our brain connecting to our vision. So from that point of view, makes a bit of sense. And the doctors, towards the end of the study, and this is what I picked up on, they said there is a simple reason you can fix this, and you will never have this condition ever again.
Okay.
And it won't cost you a cent.
Yeah.
So it's not something that it's going to cost you money. Instead of when you wake up and check your phone with one eye open and one eye closed, open both your eyes.
No way.
I know. It's towards the end of the study. It says open.
Mind blown.
I know. So it says open both your eyes when you are checking your phone, because equal amounts of light are getting into your eyes and getting into your brain. There you go. A cost-effective solution to temporary blindness. Open both your eyes.
Well, because I suppose going so quickly from being asleep and you're just seeing nothing but darkness, obviously, to your phone going off, you're rolling over and you're still kind of in the dark or semi-darkness when you've just woken up in the morning, and then straight away you're looking at this massive bright source of light blaring straight into your face. So it's obviously going to do something bad to your eyes, you'd think.
Yeah, well, they also recommend not checking your phone right before you go to sleep, because you need to have you sort of turn off your functions as you go to sleep, so that way you're going to sleep with a peaceful mind and your vision is all closed. So if you think about it, if you check your phone right before you go to sleep, your eyes don't have enough time to sort of get. There's a term they say, but you need proper amount of light when you're going to sleep, and also when you're waking up. So this thing of checking your phone with one eye open and one eye closed, it does sound a bit weird, but if you actually open both your eyes, you won't get this thing. So it sounds a bit simple. It's a bit of a simpleton approach. Open both your eyes. But the doctors say it does work.
Well, because as far as the whole not looking at something like your phone before you go into sleep or something like that, people say, okay, read a book for about 20 minutes before you actually do go to bed, and then that will give you a good amount of time before you've gone to sleep, where you've adjusted from not as much light being in your face throughout the night. And so this got a lot of people going, okay, I'll read a book on my iPad. No, doesn't work that way, because that's obviously the same kind of light source as what your phone is. And that's where, because my girlfriend actually has a Kindle, and the Kindles are actually good because they don't emit the same light as an iPad or an iPhone would, or your smartphone or tablet, whatever kind you have. It's just, a standard reader, and it's actually got a light that shines onto the screen, not a light from the back of the screen lighting it towards you. So
it seems like the new age of technology, it just can't keep up with our brains. So we're we need the old school method of reading a book and actually not having any bright vision in our eyes right before we go to sleep and when we wake up. So it sounds a bit of a simpleton approach to open both your eyes when you check your phone in the morning. But doctors, I stress that word, doctors recommend it. So. There we go. So I used to do this. I must admit, I have been guilty of checking my phone in the morning with one eye open and one eye closed, because you're still a bit tired. You're a bit sleepy. Your alarm's gone off. You're like, oh, what's going on in the world on Facebook and Twitter? No. So I open both my eyes now. So there you go. That's the way of getting rid of this temporary blindness situation. Open both your eyes. On
a quick side tangent, what is the first thing that you actually check in the morning when you get up on your phone?
Twitter.
Yep.
I'm all about the news alerts. As you know, I'm a bit of a news junkie, so Twitter is what I go straight away, and I check the news alerts in the morning. So I'm sure you've got something a bit different than that.
Mine's kind of a little bit similar, because obviously I'm working in the radio industry, so I have to know what I have to talk about that day. So the first thing that I usually check out is news.com.au, and just like, okay, what's the main headline on news.com.au this morning? Oh, yeah, it's Malcolm Turnbull again. No worries. Put the phone down. And, just kind of go from there. And then I tend to check the wrestling news as well, because I'm a bit of a wrestling fan, which a lot of people would hate me for, but it's okay.
Just calm your farm, people. He's a wrestling fan. It's okay.
Everybody stay calm. It's okay.
So it's not like he breaks for Collingwood, so it's all good.
No, it's all fine. But if you want to check out more info on this story, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. You can leave us a voicemail right there, leave us your opinions on the story, and be involved with the show. Reid, that pretty much wraps things up for the show this week. We've gone through a lot of weird news once again. Second week in a row. We're going strong so far. I like how this is all going. What are your thoughts on things?
Yeah, look, I think we've wrapped it up pretty well. Much more quicker than an election, that's for sure.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
All done and dusted. So, no, all good. Let's bring on the next week. I've got a few stories in mind for our third episode already.
Oh, nice. And I've just checked our progress as far as we mentioned at the start of the show that there was around 50 views on our YouTube video of the show. It's even climbed since we've actually started recording this episode of the show as well. So it's amazing how many people are actually getting involved with watching and listening to the show. So thank you very much for that, and keep watching on the YouTube link there as well. Also, you can listen to the show iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. They're the sources to listen to the audio version of the show right there. Stay involved with the show at Weird News Weekly on Twitter, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com. Most importantly, leave us your voicemails right there, and we will feature them in the show and respond to your voicemails and your opinions on the stories that we've covered as well. It's all about getting your involvement, and Reid, that's what we want.
It's all about the interaction from you, so get in touch and we'd like to hear from you. So please go to our website, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com, voicemails. It's all good. Anything
else you'd like to add before we sign off for this week, Reid?
I'm just glad the election is all done and dusted.
Yeah.
And hopefully by the time this podcast is released, we actually have a Prime Minister.
Well, fingers crossed.
Apparently we don't at the moment.
Yeah, fingers crossed there isn't a hung parliament and we have to vote again, because that would just suck so bad.
Oh yeah, don't even go there, friend. Don't even go there.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about hung parliaments.
But that is the show all said and done for this week. So Reid and myself will catch you next week. I've been Ben Rogers. He has been Reid Marnie, and we'll catch you next time. See you, bye.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to rate and review the show on iTunes, and follow on Twitter and Tumblr for more details on the covered stories. Just search Weird News Weekly. You can also be part of the show and give us your opinions on a story by sending a voicemail via the SpeakPipe app, or just click the voicemail link on the Tumblr page. Spoken by Sarah D and sped up like this because we like the way it sounds on the government ads.